I have the great pleasure of introducing a great friend of our club, a loyal supporter of all our Queens candidates, even though he's a Nassau boy. I want to welcome to our club Senator Jack Martins. He's been here many times before. Originally, he was the mayor of his hometown, Mineola, New York, where that town was a financial basket case, and he came in and he lifted that town out of its financial quagmire. He went on to serve as a New York State legislature. This is his third term in the 7th District in Nassau, which is northern Nassau. He lifted northern Nassau up, balancing the budget, cutting taxes, cutting spending, and now let's support him to lift up northern Queens, Nassau, and western Suffolk, which is Congressional District 3. Let's give a big rousing welcome to Senator Jack Martins.
It's great to be back. How are you? Amen. That's great. You know, Queens Village Republican Club is a special place. I don't need to tell you, but as the oldest Republican club in existence in the country, that's quite a mantle to carry. And nobody does it better than the two gentlemen here to my left, Phil Orenstein and Joe Concannon.
Thank you.
Think about it for a second.
And
Jim and everyone else, and we can sit here and we can go around the room. But let me ask you this. What does it say about this club that here we are on a Thursday evening, we all have busy schedules, but we're here, and we're here for a reason? I'm running for Congress in the 3rd Congressional District. The 3rd Congressional District runs everywhere from the Whitestone Bridge clear out to Kings Park in Smithtown, along the North Shore of Long Island. 750,000 people. And I'll tell you, they're meeting across this district for the same reasons we all are. People are concerned. They should be concerned. The direction that our country is going in, the impact on our lives, and we live in middle-income communities, trying to raise our families. My wife and I, who celebrate our 21st wedding anniversary this August, thank you, are raising our 4 daughters. So people ask me, why are you in Albany? Why do you want to run for Congress? Caitlin is 19. She just finished her first year at Binghamton. Came home. She's doing well. Vanessa's a sophomore in high school. Emma's in 5th grade. And Caroline just celebrated her first Holy Communion. She's in 2nd grade. And so if you do the math quickly, we'll be paying for college for the next 20 years straight. We get a couple of years we double up, and 1 year we have off, and that'll be the year that probably Caitlin gets married. But we live in tough times, folks. You know, I have had the privilege of representing the 7th Senate District, which covers Nassau County on the North Shore, from the Queens line straight out through Hicksville. And from Elmont on the south of this district, Dutch Broadway, straight up to the Sound, and along the North Shore from Great Neck out to the Glenwood Landing. It's an interesting place, about 320,000 people, and of those 320,000, a little over 220,000 overlap with this congressional district. So I know it well. There are areas that I am introducing myself to. Obviously the areas of Queens where I don't represent, and areas of Suffolk, Oyster Bay, Huntington, and Smithtown, but I'm making my way around. And people ask me, why are you running? Why are you leaving Albany, where you've served for 3 terms, and people consider you to be in a relatively safe seat? Why are you running for Congress? And the answer is simple. The fight today is in Washington, D.C. If you consider where we are as a country, if you consider the challenges that are facing our families, and I've already told you about my family, can we literally say that we are going to have a better future for our children than we had ourselves? It's a simple question. It's the basis of our American dream. And people want to be Pollyannish about this issue, but here's the reality. The answer is no. Where we are today, we cannot say, I cannot honestly say that my children have a brighter future than my brothers and sisters had growing up in this country. My parents immigrated here in the early 1960s. My brothers and sisters were born here. And so if you consider the American dream and the opportunities that existed for people who came here with nothing in their pockets and made something of themselves with the promise of being able to provide for their children, that's what's missing right now. And so there are three things I think we need to focus on. One, getting the economy moving again, spurring economic activity, rewarding people in their investments and allowing them, if they take the risk and if they open a business and if they're going to sacrifice and make something of it and they're going to hire people and put people to work, they deserve the fruits of their labor, and the government has to take their hands out of our pocket. One. Two, we have to protect our culture in a broad sense, and that goes back to the American dream. That goes back to those principles that we ourselves hold as being important. Can anyone say that we have been true to our principles as a country as we have gone through these past 8, 9, 10 years? No. No. And so we have to make that a priority as well. And the third is an equally important priority. We need to protect ourselves here and everywhere around the world. We have to make sure that we maintain the peace, protect ourselves, protect our citizens from attack. And can anyone say that we are safer today than we were 8 years ago? And the answer, again, is absolutely not. And so those are the challenges for us. This seat is a fair fight seat. Steve Israel served in Congress for the past 16 years, 8 terms. He's been reelected over and over again. But this seat, as it is today, since it was redistricted just a few years ago, is considered to be a fair fight district. It's rated 0. And so I would suggest to you, if we want to make a difference, I need your help. If we want to make a difference and we want to send a message to Washington by taking back a seat that has been a Democratic seat for 16 years, this is the seat that's going to make that difference. We have the support of our party in Washington, D.C., the National Republican Congressional Committee. They are prioritizing this race. They have placed me on their short list for young guns. And so when you consider that there are only 6 races around the country that they have endorsed with that distinction, this gives us an opportunity not only to have the resources, but you know what? Money's not enough. Money is not enough to win an election in this, because everyone, both sides, are going to be able to raise the money they need to get their message out. But we have the right message. We have the opportunity to make a difference. And I would suggest, for the first time, and I don't know how long, you tell me how long, we're going to be able to say that we have elected a Republican congressman from Long Island that represents Queens. When's the last time we had a Republican congressman in Queens? John LeBoutelier, who I was with about a month ago. All right, sorry guys. You know what? I'm glad the chairman of the Queens Republican Party is not here, because the last Republican congressman we had from Queens was
Bob Turner.
Besides Bob, you know. We have this opportunity, folks. And so we won't talk about Queens. We'll talk about Northeast Queens. We'll talk about Gary Ackerman's old stomping grounds. We'll talk about the opportunity we have to take a piece of Gary's old district and a piece of Steve Israel's district that was melded together, and take people who have not seen a Republican congressman in over a generation and give them that opportunity to be part of what's going to be a great initiative. So there's the challenge. I'm willing to do my part. I'm finishing up my last 2 weeks in this term in the state Senate. I'll be back here on Long Island, and this will be my priority between the end of our session and November 8th. I hope to see you out there. I'm asking for your help. And if you want to send a message, this is the race to get involved in. And I will tell you this, with your help, we will get over that finish line. We will make a difference. We will win this thing. But I need you. So, what's the challenge? Anyone have a question? Well, I'll answer your question, and I appreciate it. It's two parts, though. Two parts. First part is, there is a need to adjust the minimum wage. We did it here in New York State during our budget. You may be aware of it. Minimum wage right now in New York State is $9 an hour. In other parts of the country, the federal minimum wage is $7.25. Minimum wage in New York over the next 6 years is going to increase to $15 an hour as a minimum wage. In New York City, it's going to increase to $15 an hour over the next 3 years. Upstate, it's going to increase over a longer period of time, and it's being phased in given the economic circumstances of each area and the ability to absorb it. That's a done deal. It was done as part of this last budget. And people can argue about whether or not it's the right time to do it, isn't the right time to do it, whether the numbers make sense, or whether the increase is being overly aggressive, and what the impacts are going to be on small businesses. And those were all parts of that debate that took place just 2 months ago. But that's one part of the equation. You can't solve the issue by simply limiting or increasing the minimum wage. You just can't. The bottom line is, if you don't get the economy moving again, if you don't cut taxes, if you don't put people back to work, if you don't find jobs for people, then whatever you set the minimum wage will always be the minimum wage, and you're never actually increasing and lifting people out of poverty. That's the challenge. Since 1999, 5 million jobs have left this country due to trade deals that have been signed, and yes, those jobs have gone away on the promise that we would be able to buy cheaper goods in this country if we sent our jobs overseas. Well, we need a job here in order to afford to buy the stuff that's coming back. So you know what? Let me ask you something. This is an iPhone. It's an iPhone. You know where it's made? It's made in China. Think about that for a second. Who here isn't willing to pay a couple of dollars more if this were made here? Well, we can put thousands of people back to work. So whether it is an iPhone or whether it is anything else, I suggest that we're better off because there's nothing more important. There is nothing more important in our society than the dignity that comes from work. The opportunity that somebody has to get that paycheck. So whether it's $20 an hour or whether it's $10 an hour, the opportunity that somebody has to earn a check, go home, take care of their family, put food on the table, and be able to hopefully put a little bit aside for later in life or perhaps to deal with life's emergencies. That is the single most important thing. And if we've hemorrhaged 5 million jobs in the last 17 years, shame on us. Shame on all of us who have allowed these policies to take place. So I hope that answers your question.
It's time that we made killing a police officer in the line of duty is a federal crime. And I hope that you will support that.
I absolutely will.
You mentioned it in your campaign?
I will. I'm glad you brought it up. I have had the privilege over the last 6+ years in elected office to have the support of our men in blue. Whether it's the New York City Police Department, whether it's the Nassau County Police Department, whether it's the state troopers, frankly, I've lived through that. I've supported them. I've supported state laws that have supported their efforts. And frankly, I agree with you.
Will you also try to get the Trump campaign to support this?
Sure, I will do my part. Let me be clear to everyone here. I accept that Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee for president. I think we all do. And there are people who challenge that and ask us why and whether or not we will support Donald Trump for president. I'll tell you this, I'm a Republican. I've had the privilege to run as a Republican 3 times for the state Senate. I've had the privilege to run in my own local races 4 times before that. I support Republicans. I will continue to support Republicans. And the unfortunate part of this reality and the debate that's taking place today is that both Democratic candidates, both of them, are merely promising to continue the policies that have put us in this hole to begin with. They are promising that they're going to provide another 4 years of those policies that have been a disaster for this country over the last 8 years. And yes, I will support Donald Trump. Yes, I will vote for him. And yes, I will talk to him and try and get his campaign to do the same thing. I would support the Second Amendment, Rabbi. I appreciate the question. You know, Winston Churchill had a great line. Democracy is the worst form of government. You hear this one? Except for everything else. And so if you consider that, democracy sometimes is messy, and you know, the message or the lesson there is, I hope they start electing more Republicans in New York City, and then their representatives would then change the laws to reflect that as well. Same thing here in New York State. If we elected more Republicans, we would be able to push back on that. No, but that's democracy, Rabbi, and that's the reality. We have to respect the Constitution in all its forms. Now, I can tell you what I am going to do, and I'll continue to do that. I will continue to represent my constituents the same way I have these past 6 years in the New York State Legislature. I voted for and pushed for tax cuts across the board. I have voted for and I've advocated for, and I have frankly been part of the negotiations that increased school spending, so we brought more money home to our school districts. I have not voted for a single tax increase or fee increase in Albany in 6 years. Show me someone else who can say that they have not voted for a tax increase in government at a time when, frankly, for the last 6 years, it's been a remarkable time. Yet, we've made ends meet. We've been able to provide tax cuts. We've been able to provide record spending for education. And yes, we've been able to hold our own because we have a Republican state Senate here in New York. And yeah, we have to wrestle with Cuomo every once in a while, and we have to do the same thing with the Assembly. But all of this comes from, frankly, having principles. Well, I agree with you. We were talking about gun policy, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. We have to enforce the laws that are on the books. Look, guys, you know, if you look at the last 8 years, you know, we have legalized marijuana in states in this country, even though we have federal laws against it, and the U.S. Attorney General closes their eyes. We have had U.S. Attorney General come into states to the point that was made by this gentleman right here and attack our law enforcement personnel unfairly. And so they've chosen winners and losers depending on what their own perspectives are. We have to enforce the laws that are on the books. So whether it's gun legislation, whether it's immigration, whether it's, you know, because there are penalties right now, and you're I'm sure familiar with legislation that we have on the books that would penalize and require the government to hold employers accountable for employing people who are here illegally.
And you have to stop the tax breaks. All the factories going out to Ireland.
Bring all those. I just mentioned that before. We got to bring those jobs back.
Ireland now. The Irish have figured this 10 years. They're very intelligent people. They take the jobs away.
Ireland. But let me point one thing out, because I raised my iPhone before. China, that is manipulating their currency and eating our lunch. Those jobs should be coming back. Down at Belmont, they wanted to put a casino in at Belmont Racetrack. Community didn't want it. We were able to negotiate with Genting, that's running Aqueduct, and get them to take the VLTs, the video lottery terminals in, and in exchange they're paying Nassau County $25 million a year without the county having to build, have, or maintain the casino. I know that it was a significant issue originally in Carl Place, Westbury, then in Floral Park. There was talk about moving it out to East Meadow. Reality is this. There is a facility that exists right now. It's here in Queens. My conversations with those representatives that represent that area have worked very well with them. They've been good, outstanding citizens in those communities. They've done great outreach. They're doing their job in a coordinated way. We were able to take a facility that's working, give them the VLTs, and in exchange get about $25 million a year for the county taxpayers. It's a win-win. Thank you for the question. Well, Winston Churchill was a special person. He was, you know, frankly, one of my all-time favorites. I was reading about Winston just this afternoon. It's funny you should bring him up. You know, Winston Churchill was frankly, a fantastic wartime leader, and obviously world-renowned for his leadership during World War II. But, you know, I was amazed to remember, because I had forgotten, and maybe people here in the room. Does anybody know when Winston Churchill was voted out of office?
45.
In 1945. The war in Europe ended in May 1945. In July 1945, they kicked Winston to the curb. And that's a fact. And so I agree with you. We need to be, we need to be more emphatic in our approach. We have to talk issues, because on the issues, we'll win 10 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10. And Winston was always passionate about defending his country. Thank you. Let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. But thank you for that question. The Iran deal is a travesty, and unfortunately, it was done by executive order, just like everything else. It's an agreement. He didn't have the votes in Congress, so he went out there and did it on his own. I'm hoping very much we have a Republican president who overturns it on day one, because that's the first thing we can do. Get rid of that agreement. That's my preference. Obamacare, my sister's a doctor. All right, I hear every week about the pressures that she has, that her colleagues have, and that they're living under. We have exchanges here in New York State and around the country that were formed as a result of the Affordable Care Act. One of those co-ops that was built or that was formed right here in New York State, Health Republic, went out of business, lost $400 million, went out of business. We, as taxpayers, lost $400 million that were invested there. There's still another $400 million that's owed to doctors and hospitals across the state who are owed money from this health insurer. It's gone, never to be seen again. United Healthcare is talking about leaving the state. Our premiums are going up. This year, the average premium increase is 17%. Doctors are being thrown off panels. People are getting higher and higher co-pays, and the panels are getting smaller and smaller, which means we're getting less and fewer choices in the doctors that we can see. So premiums are increasing by double digits and multiple double digits. Our choices for doctors are decreasing. Our co-pays are going up. And this is supposed to be a good thing. We have more people today who don't have insurance, who had insurance then, because they could no longer afford to. And those who didn't have insurance then, yeah, they have insurance, but you know who's paying for it? We are. That's a tough one. It allowed the government to continue and to operate. I believe that if you're in the majority, you have a responsibility to negotiate and keep government going. That's part of the responsibility of a majority. You negotiate the deal you can. I've had the opportunity in 3 terms up in the New York State Senate to be part of negotiations like that, where we voted for budgets, and some of the issues in those budgets, frankly, I didn't agree with. But as a member of the majority in the Senate, that's our responsibility to keep government going. The people who we're negotiating with were elected by the same people who elected us, by the way. And so the idea that somehow we have the moral high ground, we're better on the issues and we're right on the issues, but we have to negotiate. And so, yeah, I would have voted for it. I'm not happy with the way it was negotiated, frankly. I think that $19 trillion in debt is an absurdity, and we need an executive that's going to set the right tone and start understanding that we have a responsibility to build the economy so we can pay down that debt so that your generation and my kids' generation and my grandkids' generation and my great-grandkids' generation aren't going to get stuck having to pay for our debt. That is literally the crime that we are committing as U.S. citizens right now. The idea that we are saddling our children and our grandchildren with the kind of debt that we have, and nobody can conceive of what 19 trillion is. If we don't elect a Republican president, and if we don't have a majority in the House, that 19 trillion, I'll put it a different way. If Bernie Sanders and all of the people who had voted for him and all of the support that he's gotten across the country, if that guy is president, we'll be at $30 trillion within 4 years. And that's the problem. We have to raise Social Security benefits for the same reason that the gentleman in the back was talking about the cost of living. Cost of living continues to go up every year. The cost for things, materials, energy, basic staples, rent, everything goes up. How do we expect people who paid into Social Security, the promise, the covenant we had with people who worked all of their lives and paid into Social Security is that we would be there for them in their retirement. Well, that retirement for some is now, and our responsibility is to make that payment. We have to protect Social Security, we have to preserve it, but we also have to be fair to people, and especially in high cost areas like ours right here. New York City, Long Island, yeah, we deserve it. If we were living out in rural areas where perhaps the dollar stretches a lot longer than it does here, but we need to be fair, and I would. I agree. I'm a believer in lock boxes. I have supported lock boxes here in New York State for specific things. It's sad to see that we habitually, whether on the state level or on the federal level, go into places. We are committing resources to it. You look at tolls, look at our bridges and tolls and monies that should go to bridge maintenance, repair, reconstruction, road reconstruction, and you see habitually that those monies are swept for other things. Federal government, whether it's Social Security or other commitments like federal highways, mass transit, those should be lockboxed as well, very simply. My parents had the ability to come to this country legally. They came, and immigration is, and I do believe it is, the lifeblood of our country. We have rules and we have laws, and those rules and laws have to be enforced and obeyed. You know, when Donald Trump talks about building a wall, what I hear is he's securing the border. He's securing the border. And the first person, any one of us who stands up here would tell you that the first step in addressing immigration is securing the border and then putting rules in place, enforcing the rules we have in place until we come up with a better sense of how people can come or not come into this country legally.
But my question is, do you feel we have to severely reform and reduce immigration? The current system is a mess. We have to reform immigration.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We have to, not only do we have to reform immigration, we have to deal with the reality of having 14 or 17 million people here in this country who are illegal. We have to deal with that reality. It could be, pick a number. Pick a number. But here's the reality. We have to deal. We continuously kick that can down the road. And so, yes, we have to address that issue. As the son of an immigrant, you know what? My parents, I'm sure your parents, or anyone else who's here who's an immigrant or is one generation, 2 generations, or 3 generations removed from parents who did come here to this country, we all have a responsibility to enforce these laws, to make sure that we have the ability to decide who comes in and who doesn't. We have policies in this country right now, ladies and gentlemen, that allow convicted murderers, rapists, felons to merely walk out of jail and go back into society. We have them, we have the ability to deport them, and we don't do it. They're called sanctuary cities. Guess what? Look around, you live in one. And so we have the responsibility to deal with these issues holistically, whether they're sanctuary cities because there are felons out there, whether it's people who are here and working in jobs that we should have for people who are living here, supporting their families here because those jobs are going to others, whether there's a black market for an economy that does exist, we have to reform immigration because it's in our interest to do so.
We got to go, Cap.
We have to move on.
I'm sorry, that was the last question.
Invite me back. I'll come back. How about that?
We will. We definitely will.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you very much. Looking forward to the opportunity. Please stay in touch. Jack Martins, 3rd District. We'll see you around. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.